Welcome to another nightmare narrative. Art of the Hitcher. Those who stop never reach their destination. Harvey walked for what felt like hours, lost in thought as he meandered along the winding road. He did not mind the passage of time, though, for it was a beautiful day, not too hot, not too cold, and the gentle breeze brushed against his skin like a comforting embrace. He strolled along as he had done before, his thumb out in hopes of a passing ride, and he would stop now and then to sit for a while, allowing his mind to wander and his thoughts to drift. Yet, as Harvey settled onto a patch of grass, his mind plummeted into the depths of his darkest memories, swirling around the tragedy that still haunted him. He recalled that fateful day when he had lost his dearly loved dog, Jet, who had been more than just a pet. Jet was his companion, his confidant. He vividly remembered the morning they had set out, filled with excitement as he anticipated a day of fishing with his father. They had meticulously arranged everything they would need. Fishing rods neatly packed, a stop at the local store to buy fresh cockles and wriggling worms, and with high spirits they headed off, eager for what they believed would be the perfect day. Jet, despite growing older, was in the back seat of the car, his tail wagging furiously as he sensed the adventure ahead. However, amidst their enthusiasm, Harvey's father had inadvertently lost focus, neglecting to refuel the car before embarking on their journey, a mistake that would soon lead to unforeseen consequences. As they drove toward Middle Beach, cruising along one of the deserted dirt roads, the car suddenly spluttered to a halt. Harvey's father glanced down at the fuel gauge, which ominously showed empty, and a wave of frustration washed over him. He pounded his hands on the steering wheel in disbelief, anger directed not only at the situation but at himself, cursing the day for presenting them with such a predicament. "Of all days," he muttered, "why did it have to be today that we ran out of petrol?" At that moment, there was nothing they could do but sit in the car, stranded, as Harvey's father turned to him with a look of deep regret, apologizing for the oversight. They were so close to their destination, only 10 minutes from the beach where they had promised Jet he could have a refreshing drink of water. Yet, alas, life had other plans, and the weight of that missed opportunity lingered heavily in the air, a poignant reminder of how quickly joy could turn to sorrow. They sat in the hot car, the sun streaming through the windows, making the air feel heavy and oppressive. After a time, they decided it was better to escape the sweltering confines of the vehicle. So they climbed out and sought refuge beneath the shade of a sprawling tree, its branches providing a welcome respite from the relentless sun. Just when they began to feel a flicker of hope, a truck finally came into view on the dusty road. It slowed as it approached, and the driver, noticing their predicament, pulled over to offer assistance. They explained their situation, detailing how they had run out of petrol, and the man listened with a furrowed brow. "That's no good," he said, shaking his head. "I can help you get to a petrol station, but I won't be able to bring you back." Harvey felt a surge of panic at the thought of leaving Jet behind, and without hesitation, he jumped out of the car, eager to retrieve his beloved companion. However, as he approached the man's vehicle, with Jet in tow, the driver looked down and quickly interjected, stating emphatically that there was no way he would allow a dog in his car. Harvey's father attempted to reason with the man, explaining that Jet was just an old dog who wouldn't be a problem. But the man remained steadfast in his refusal, his face set in unyielding determination. Sensing the tension, Harvey turned to his father and asked if he could stay with Jet. But his father shook his head, explaining gently but firmly that he was too young to be left alone with the car and the dog. Reluctantly, they compromised. His father managed to maneuver the car beneath the tree for some extra shade and left the windows slightly down for Jet to enjoy the breeze. They got into the truck with heavy hearts, thinking they would only be gone for a half hour. After a while, the driver revealed that he needed to make 2 deliveries first, adding an unexpected twist to their already challenging situation. Not wanting to come across as unappreciative of the assistance, Harvey's father said nothing, his thoughts focused on Jet, abandoned in the heat. Time stretched as they made their way through the winding roads, and in the back of Harvey's mind, he couldn't shake the anxious thoughts about whether Jet was okay. Finally, After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at the petrol station, but the relief was short-lived. Hours had passed since they had first encountered trouble, and as they refueled, Harvey's father began asking everyone at the station if they were going that way. But one by one, they all shook their heads, unable to help. Growing increasingly frustrated and desperate, he eventually resorted to calling a taxi, which seemed to take forever to arrive, each passing minute amplifying the worry gnawing at his heart. When the taxi finally pulled up, it felt like a small victory, yet the driver seemed intent on dragging out the journey. He drove slowly as if savoring every moment. The trip back to the car stretched out painfully, each second ticking by slowly, making it feel like time itself was conspiring against them. Harvey's worst fears were realized as he knelt beside Jet, who had tragically succumbed to dehydration. The realization struck him like a heavy blow, leaving him utterly devastated. His heart shattered into a million pieces as he felt a wave of grief wash over him, and he wasn't alone in his sorrow. His father stood nearby, his face etched with regret and sadness, wishing desperately that the events of the day had unfolded differently, that they could somehow turn back time and change the outcome. They took Jet home, their spirits weighed down by the loss, and then, knowing that there was nothing more they could do, they headed to the vet. Although both of them were acutely aware that Jet was already gone, Harvey's father felt a deep-seated need to have Jet cremated. Burying such a beloved companion in their garden seemed too final, too painful. The vet confirmed the heartbreaking cause of death, dehydration, and those stark words would be forever etched in Harvey's mind, a haunting reminder of the day everything changed. As time went on, it took an incredibly long time for Harvey to come to terms with the loss of his beloved pet, especially since he had already endured the pain of losing his mother just a few years earlier. Her death had come under tragic circumstances while they were at the park, feeding the ducks. She had suffered a massive stroke right before his eyes and had never recovered. In that moment of panic and despair, Jet had stayed faithfully by Harvey's side, a silent source of comfort as they waited for the ambulance to arrive. Now, with Jet gone, Harvey felt an overwhelming emptiness, realizing that he had replaced his mother's warm hugs with Jet's loving presence, and now there would be no comforting embrace from either. His father tried to explain that getting another dog right away would be too difficult, especially after having a faithful companion like Jet. He suggested they wait a while before considering bringing another pet into their lives, but unfortunately, that day never came. Despite the deep sorrow that lingered, Harvey eventually began to piece his life back together. He became somewhat of a loner at school, preferring the quiet solitude of the library over the noisy hallways filled with other kids. Although he faced teasing and ridicule from some of his peers for this choice, he didn't mind. He found solace in the company of books, which offered him adventure and escape. He threw himself into his studies, focusing intently on his academics, and his hard work paid off with good grades. With determination and purpose, Harvey set his sights on a future in veterinary studies, wanting to honor the memory of Jet in some way. It was this unwavering passion for animals that eventually led him to become a vet. He had thoroughly enjoyed his work as a veterinarian, finding immense satisfaction in caring for animals and helping them recover from illness, until just a few days ago when a family brought their dog in for treatment. To his utter dismay, it was a dog that looked strikingly similar to Jet, and the heartbreaking reality hit him like a freight train when he learned that this dog had died under remarkably similar circumstances. Harvey recalled the raw pain on the young boy's face as he struggled to find the right words to explain to him that the dog had succumbed to dehydration, just as Jet had. As he carried on working for a few hours in a daze, his mind became increasingly clouded with memories, and he found himself spiraling into a dark abyss of grief and sorrow. It felt as though his mind had snapped, plunging him into a relentless loop of recollections that he couldn't escape. Each thought dragged him deeper into a well of anguish, where the echoes of his past and the weight of his present collided in a cacophony of heartache. It was as if he had descended into the depths of his own tortured psyche, and he felt powerless to claw his way back to the surface. This internal journey seemed to be a desperate attempt by Harvey to escape the pain of his memories. Yet every effort only led him further into the shadows of his mind, where the specters of loss loomed large and unforgiving. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to others, so you don't miss an episode.